Good evening, everyone. It is 7 o'clock on Sunday night. Time for Rev It Up. Tonight we have a Meet the Band episode with the Glens Falls-based band No More Death Stars, and I'm going to introduce you to them. Kevin Cardinale and Kevin Stevenson, Eric Rothstein, and Gina DiNardo. Hi, everybody.
Hey.
How you feeling tonight?
Hey.
Awesome.
Pretty decent.
Pretty decent. So,
how are you?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm busy. I've been busy. I've been putting up fencing, staining stuff. I just cleaned my refrigerator out and from top to bottom, inside and out. It took all day.
That's good.
Just all kinds of stuff. And next weekend I'm staining the deck and
Sweet.
Put up fencing, training the dogs, and in between all that, I've got a couple of live streams this week. So
cool.
Kelly and Son on Thursday, my fans. Kelly and Son on Thursday, and the memorial fundraiser for Mike Keenan, who is some guys know him. He went to Hudson Falls, died young. They're doing a fundraiser for his family. And that's Saturday. And so anyway, we're going to start talking about No More Death Stars. We'll start with Kevin, since he's like leader of the band, would you say?
I guess.
Yeah, I think so.
You want to put it that way?
Yeah, whatever.
She's a good coach.
Right? Okay. Tell us a little bit about your start in music. We'll start with Kevin.
How far back am I going?
When you started, were you 3? Were you 5? I was 7.
No, so the first instrument I learned to play was the drums. I got a drum set when I was like 7 or 8. So I think what happened was I got a drum set at 7, and I was playing drums, and I was like, all right, these are cool. What's guitar about? I got a guitar, I was 8. And then I remember being probably 9 and reading liner notes of whatever albums I was listening to at the time. And it's weird because I know like at 9, I already had my favorite. I already had my heartthrobs. I already had my band crushes. Yeah. And I was looking at album credits, and I noticed that all the dudes and some ladies that I liked in these bands were credited as bass and not guitar. I'm like, I know what the fuck a bass was. So I had to ask my mom what a bass was. and she explained it to me, and I was like, well, clearly this is the coolest person in the group. So I want to play this thing. At which point she was like, you need to slow the fuck down. You have just like jumped ship once. So we made a deal. She told me that if I joined the school orchestra and learned to play the upright bass, and I did that for however long, then she'd buy me a bass guitar. And so that year, this would have been like 1999, she bought me it was a Jay Terser knockoff precision bass. And I learned how to play it really poorly. I haven't improved at all in the last 21 years. And and then somewhere in that I started playing in bands probably when I was like 13. Like at that point there were still all ages shows in this area. I feel like that's something this area is kind of lacking now. But like we could play at Hot Shots if we got X's. We could play at Saratoga Winners. So me and my buddies were doing that. Then at some point, I think I got at the time, I thought I got burnt out on the guitar, but I think now I realize I was actually burnt out on like band culture. So then around the time I went to college, I started making just kind of like weird electronic, like a mix of like noise and like hip hop and like pop and like all these things I liked. I was making this sample-based music. I did that for a couple of years. And then I think I realized the limitations of doing that in a live setting, and I realized I kind of missed live instrumentation. So I went back to playing in bands, blah, blah, blah. Graduated college. I think like the most important stuff is coming back to this area after going to college, meeting Kevin Stevenson, starting the other band we did for a while, Sob Goblin.
Yeah. I remember you guys doing that. I think that's where I first saw you two.
Yeah.
That
makes sense. But yeah, I think that's kind of where like my songwriting evolved into what it is now. And then we did that band for probably like close to 5 years. got. I mean, there were a few reasons why we stopped doing that. One, I think I was kind of burnt out on like the stage persona that I think that band kind of produced. You know, so it was two things. You know, one was that everyone was at this really like kind of like becoming adults sort of phase and getting married and having kids and like not having time to really invest in the band. And then also I think I just kind of wanted to be putting a more positive message out there with my music. Not that I don't think there was positivity in Sobgoblin, but like a lot of it was kind of that like, you know, standard self-loathing white guy indie rock thing. And I just don't want to do that anymore. So yeah, but the main thing with starting No More Death Stars was like the idea was that, you know, it could be like a revolving door of bandmates. The only person who had to be there for it to be No More Death Stars was me. And in effect, that meant that we don't have to break the band up every time someone decides to make like a life decision. And yeah, that was like 4 years ago. And here we are. And then like, you know, these guys kind of came in and, you know, I say it's like a revolving door of bandmates, but I'm pretty happy with these guys. So hopefully they don't make any life decisions anytime soon.
Did you hear that, all of you? Don't
Yeah,
make any
I'm
life
pressing.
decisions.
Man, he's gonna tell us now.
Yeah, he's telling you now.
Yeah, don't.
All I heard was revolving door, and I'm like, okay, I guess I'm
Yeah.
out.
We're out. Yeah.
Yeah, no one's out. Just don't do anything to better yourselves.
Right, yeah. Well, I'm working on that.
Kevin Stevenson, let's talk to you about that. Do you
Yeah.
like playing with it? Do you like playing with this guy?
I mean, he puts up with me, I put up with him, so it works out, you know, in the
That
end.
sounds about right.
Yeah. No, so in like middle school time frame, I guess maybe like late elementary, I started playing drums. And so that was my start as well, was doing drums in school and working my way through middle school with that. And kind of like, I don't know, I there was like, I don't know, me being an edgy kid, I was kind of like, didn't really want to do it at school anymore, but I still wanted to continue with music. So I then went to bass guitar and took that up, and I was kind of into the, you know, the pop punk and the you know, simple 3-4 chord songs from there. So, which I think, you know, was kind of beneficial as far as learning the bass guitar too, because it got me into rhythms and everything, and, you know, it got me through until I guess around when I graduated high school. I decided to switch over to guitar and switched into that. I met some people in Glens Falls that was in the, you know, the DIY hardcore scene and stuff. So I, you know, started doing kind of like some hardcore and metal projects with a couple people there, trying out for different bands and just kind of feeling things out. And that was kind of like the end of my band stuff, was, you know, the metal stuff that didn't really pan out. And then I went into, you know, kind of doing stuff on my own, getting gear and just kind of like, you know, jamming around for a few years. I actually got into a little bit with like circuit bending and messing with pedals and doing harsh noise and going kind of crazy and like just like doing, yeah, just all sorts of stuff, like just anything that was, you know, making noise and just, you know, good as far as the art was for me, whatever that means. But then I went with, I was playing bass and I met Jim Shearer and did Panda Piranha for a little bit. And that was kind of my, you know, kind of projecting back into actually playing with bands and jamming out. And from there, after Panda Piranha ended, I think, you know, it was only like a year shortly after that. That's where I saw an ad on Craigslist. And that's where Kevin Cardinal and I met, and we formed Sobgoblin and went from there. But yeah, I started in drums, and I think it was when I was 16 or 17 is when I bought my first bass. So that was kind of like the start into music. I think actually listening to music, I was actually a little late. I didn't get my first CD player until I was 13, I think. I don't know. It was like, not, I don't know, as far as like when I was a kid, it wasn't really something I was super into, but all of a sudden, you know, once I hit teen years, it was then on.
Yeah.
Shot into it. Yeah.
Eric, did you spill your beer?
Honestly, I think it's iced tea because Eric doesn't drink.
I think it's Mellow Mood.
He spelled something.
Mellow Mood?
Yeah. I mean, that's all he drinks, I thought, right?
The opposite,
He can't drink
yeah.
anything else.
No, there was a break from the Mellow Mood because I think he was taking a break from sugar too.
Yeah.
We're speaking for you, Eric.
Yeah.
I have a very shoddy setup right now. I
Uh-huh.
have a speaker sitting on a windowsill with my phone sitting on top of the speaker.
Okay.
So
Well, we'll skip you for a
It
second.
all toppled. It
Yeah.
all toppled and my drink
Are,
with it.
are you okay now? Because we can move on to Gina if you want.
No, I'm okay.
All right.
So I started in music around the age of, I think it was my 10th birthday. My parents bought me a pretty beat up acoustic guitar, and I didn't like it. I was 10. I wanted to just go outside and play with my friends. I had no interest in it. I tried. It hurt my fingers. You know, looking back, if I had an electric guitar, obviously that would have been a little bit easier to work with when you're learning at a young age. But it collected dust. Really around like 11, 12, 13, that era, I got really into music, and I decided I want a guitar now. It sounds cool. I want to actually like try this now. But at that point, my parents were skeptical, and they said, well, you know, we tried this a couple of years ago and you had no interest. And I said, but I really want to do it now. Please, can I have one? I want like an electric guitar. And so
An axe guitar.
They got me one, and that was it. I fell in love with guitar. I have been playing since I was 12 or 13, something like that. And the Beatles were what really did it for me for rock music. When I was a little kid, I only listened to like whatever was on the radio, like most little kids.
Mhm.
And my dad got like every Beatles album at one point when I was like 11 or 12. And I loved it. And from there, I went on and listened to everything else possibly under the sun. I'm like a rock and roll historian.
I can tell you that your dad is very proud of your guitar playing.
I'm like the guy from High Fidelity. I'm like an
Cusack?
freaking
John
nerd.
Cusack?
Yeah. Or Jack Black, one or the other.
Mm.
But like when I first started out on guitar, I was heavily influenced by whatever was popular at the time, which would have been like the grunge era. The mid 90s, late 90s is when I started, and you know, I got into Tool pretty heavily for a while, and Rage Against the Machine. But like everybody, you end up changing your style over the years, and I don't even know what I would call my style now. Just whatever floats my boat at the moment. I like effects. I've been using a lot of effects, especially in No More Death Stars.
Mm-hmm.
We're a pedal-friendly band.
Lots of modulation.
Pedal friendly. That's the first time I've heard that.
Modulation.
Cool. I like experimental music. One of the first bands when I was young that I ever paid attention to, actually, too, Kraftwerk and Sparks. They were two of my very favorite bands when I was a kid, when I was younger. I listened to everything when I was younger, from country to everything. I listened to everything. That's why I became a DJ, because I could play whatever I wanted.
There you go.
Eric, so it was just the guitar? You didn't have any interest in anything else?
I did end up inheriting a drum set at one point from my uncle. Passed away when I was 18. I think I was 18, 17, somewhere around there, and he had it wasn't even a completed drum set. It was like a 4-piece drum set.
I think Eric's being modest, but he's actually a really good drummer. So
yeah,
True.
I can play blast for days. It's true.
Yeah.
you have good stamina. You can do like hardcore 2-step kind of punk beats and like not really get tired.
Yeah, I can do that. I play a pretty workman-like punk beat. But yeah, so my uncle passed away, and I knew he had that set, and I contacted his wife at the time, and I said, hey, like, would you mind if I took this set? And I taught myself how to play drums just sitting in my parents' basement. I never had the intentions of playing the drums in a band. It was just another instrument to fool around with. And I will say to any guitar players out there, learn how to play the drums because it will make you a better guitarist.
Ooh,
Bass
First-
too.
that's the first time I've ever heard that advice. We've had a lot of advice from people on this show, but it's the first time I've heard that one.
Oh, let's turn this into like an advice show. Let's solve people's problems.
No.
No one wants
Some
to
of
hear
it-
about
some
us.
of it-
I want to
yeah.
hear about all of you and all of your deep
Actually, like the
seated
next
problems.
Dr. Drew.
I need some
Yeah.
advice. Who's giving advice?
Not
You
me.
guys or the
I
audience?
guess. I don't know if I can help you.
Yeah, we're all giving advice to the audience.
Usually what happens is-
drowning canoes. So I can't really help you.
Usually what happens on this show is somebody starts telling a story about something that happened to them, and they end the story with, and let me tell you, don't do this, advice, because then this will happen to you. Speaking of drummers, Gina,
Hey.
a little bit about your start in music, especially interested in how you got into the drums. Because
Okay.
there's not a lot of famous female drummers. Karen Carpenter, what's her name from the Go-Go's?
Yeah,
Did you have any? Did you have any like heroines in drums when you
I
were a kid?
started. No, because I didn't start drumming until my adulthood. I mean, there's certainly drummers that I admire, and I think are super talented. I'm not as cool as everybody else. My first instrument was the flute, and I started. Yeah,
That's
go
still
ahead,
cool.
Go ahead, laugh.
No. That's still cool because my first instrument was a French horn.
That's totally cool.
Nice.
And the instruments
So-
are good, yeah.
Yeah, so flute is cool.
Yeah.
Flute was my second choice when you fill out
I,
that form at school that says what instrument would you like to play when you joined the band in like fourth grade or whatever. I put French horn and then flute, and then I thought about it and I wanted to go back and get my piece of paper and change them around, and I couldn't get it back, so I ended up with the French horn.
Yeah.
Also, I like ska, so I don't really know what you.
And then everyone asks,
I love
"What's
ska.
Aqua Lung?"
So,
I
So-
stood next to Neville Staples from the specials at
Nice.
Terminal 5 one night, and he started talking to me. That was like, I was freaking out.
yeah, that's
Awesome.
awesome.
I was freaking out. I love him, and I love ska. We can talk about that for hours and hours. Go ahead, Gina. Sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's okay. So I started playing flute in like third or fourth grade, somewhere around there, and continued on through the end of high school. And then I started playing guitar next, actually, and that was around maybe 15 or 16 years old. And that was more of like a self-taught instrument. I never had any like traditional lessons for that.
Right.
And I still play that now. And then I've had other various instruments, keyboards, synthesizers, all of that. And then I started drumming again, self-taught again with the drums. I was living with a couple of friends, and there was like a basement area, and we would set up and just like jam together. And there was a kit down there, and someone showed me some basic stuff, and I just, would go down and play every, once in a while. And that was my first kind of real experience with the drums. Then I started playing in this band called Swan Feeder.
Yes, I saw them.
Yeah,
That was
Yes.
you.
that was me.
Yeah,
Yes.
I like that band. I saw them
Yeah.
at Putnam Den when it
Putnam
was the
Den.
Den. Yeah, you guys played there one night with a bunch of bands.
I think that was our first show.
Really.
So,
Yeah, I really liked them, the band, but I could never. My schedule was such that I could never get back to one of your shows after that, and then the
Yeah.
band disappeared on me.
Yeah. We weren't around too long, but it was super fun.
Yeah,
We
it
all-
was good.
We all like wrote songs, which was cool. Like every band member contributed songs. And at that point I was playing like a pretty pared down kit. I had the same kind of like small, medium crash cymbal that I have now. And then a snare, a tom, and a kick drum. And then I So that band ended. Sorry, I feel like I'm dragging on here. So that
You're not. Go ahead.
I'm like
Talk.
trying to relive it in my head, and it's taking me a long time to piece
We
it
like
together.
guests to talk about things. That's what we like here. Go ahead.
So Swan Feeders ended, and then I got swooped up by Asa Morris,
Mm-hmm.
and I was playing in the Mess for, I don't know, how long did the Mess go? Kevin and I were playing in that band together.
Yeah, that's how Gina and I met. I don't know, probably like 2016 to early 2019, so like a little over 2 years.
So a few years, yeah.
Like 2.5 years maybe.
So yes,
That's about right. That's about right. Because I was watching Asa when he was in the other band, the Tiki Bats.
Yeah, Tiki
Bats. Yeah,
that's when I first saw him. And then I filmed him some solo for a while, and then he ended up with the Mess and you guys. So yeah, that was a good band, Gina. That's where I where I recognized you from. Now that I think about it, yeah, you were in Swan Feeder too.
Yeah.
So yeah, and look how creative that whole band was.
Yeah,
that was amazing.
Gina wrote Swan Feeder's hit. I don't know if many people know that, but when people think of Swan Feeder, they seem to think of the song "Pussy Radio."
Yep,
which is
they
Gina.
do. Ah, yay!
Oh, thank you.
I love when women get their talent recognized, because there's so many guys in this business, and comparatively, not a lot of women.
Yeah,
and most of the women are lead
Speaking of
singers.
women, I heard an amazing song on the way.
What was that?
I heard a song from Courtney Barnett earlier.
Oh, she's so rad.
And what was it? Courtney Barnett.
Courtney Barnett. She's amazing.
Yeah. What was the song though?
I can't
Do you
remember.
remember?
I heard it on the radio.
We'll have to go look and see what she's got going on right now. So yeah. So
so
Ace in the Mess.
Okay, so we're in the Mess, and that's where I met Kevin for the first time. I think I'd seen Sob Goblin play maybe once or twice, but I think we actually
played a show together, but I don't think we really talked.
Yeah. So we got kind of like hired or brought on to the Mess at the same time.
Yeah, I think Swan Feeder and Sob Goblin both kind of like self-destructed simultaneously.
Yeah, which is interesting because both of the other bands we were in destructed simultaneously. And then when the Mess was sort of like, I don't want to say fizzling out, but like people were making changes again in their lives and things. And I started working on my own project, Pencil Dive, and Kevin was starting to work more on No More Death Stars.
Yeah,
so I think sort of like all kind of like ebbs and flows, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
But,
right.
Yeah. So with the Mess, I think I still was playing on a pared down kit, and then I started bringing in some other pieces to it because I just wanted to have more pieces to experiment with on the kit.
I think when Chris left the Mess, I think is when you started adding like more pieces, and I think we all had to kind of figure out how to like fill that extra space.
Yeah. So I brought in the hi-hats, I brought in another cymbal, I think I brought in another crash or something, I don't know. Yeah. So then I started playing in No More Death Stars. So I didn't really start drumming in a band until, later on, like way later on.
When you got to adulthood.
When I got to adulthood.
Some of us don't grow up and we don't get to adulthood until we're 50. So that kind of leads us into the next question, which is, how did the four of you come to be in the same band together? You kind of got to it, but Eric, how did you end up in the band? Because Sonic Ascent was your whole thing for a long time.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Well, I've been friends with Kevin Cardinal for years.
Mm-hmm.
I met him actually at Hot Shots, their first show, Sob Goblin's first show.
If you want to call it a show, it was an open mic. It was the first time we played in front of people. Yeah, it was Hot Shots open mic.
There that night?
I don't know.
I don't remember if I was there that night, but I
It
think
was
I
probably
was.
like 2012, maybe
No.
But
12 or 13.
you know,
Well, that's
him
when
and
I started,
him and I
2012,
connected.
going out and about.
Him and I
But maybe.
connected, and we had a lot of similar interests in music, and started hanging out on the regular. We at one
Actually,
point
hold
got
on. That
together with,
first night that we met, that was like a really funny hangout session because we ended up going back to my mom's house with like these like veterans that we met because these veterans were like asking us about drugs, and so we took some veterans to my mom's house, and actually
gave them drugs.
They forced us at gunpoint. They were like, if you don't give us some pot, you're not a true patriot. And I was like, whoa, I love my country.
That was the day. That was the day I came up with the name E-Money.
You didn't come up with it. It chose you. You're like a conduit.
It chose me. I didn't choose the E-Money life. The E-Money life chose me. Right? All right. So, anyways, I've been hanging with Kevin for years, on and off. Like we were always friends. We had a lot of similar interests in music. I can definitely say that one of the bands that him and I bonded over the most was probably the Flaming Lips. We both were huge fans. We were both huge fans of like the mid 90s era of the Flaming Lips. They had a guy named Ronald Jones that was just insane. I don't even know how to describe his guitar style.
I think who said that he was like sorry to interrupt again, but who said he was like if Miles Davis and Kevin Shields had a baby? I forget who said that, but it's kind of like that's kind of it.
So that was, we had a lot in common. And I had the Sonic Ascent thing going. He had already he had No More Death Stars going, and he reached out to me randomly one day and said, "Look, we're looking to make some changes, and no pressure, but would you want to just come over and jam and see how it feels?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, why not?" I don't have kids, so my schedule's pretty wide open. I figured I still had Sonic Ascent going at the time, but I said, "All right, well, let's see where this goes." And
so you did start hanging out. So you did start hanging out before the end of Sonic Ascent with these guys.
Oh yeah,
I didn't know that.
2019 was a very busy year for me. I was doing both bands full time. Yeah.
Wow.
So, but I went and I just jammed. Kevin Stevenson wasn't at the first jam that I had with Gina and Kevin.
Well, he has kids,
Cardinal,
so.
but
yeah.
It went very, very well, and I like Kevin's songwriting. I've always been very
thanks.
Complimentary of it, and I saw a lot of potential for me to add some of my own sonic ideas in there. So
nice.
And here we are.
Yeah, Kevin Stevenson. How did you get into this one? What were you doing before this? It was Sobgoblin right before this, or?
Yeah, so we did Sobgoblin, and then as I was getting into marriage and kids and everything, that's when that was my life change to kind of move me out of doing the music thing full time. And then as my daughter Ellie got older, that's when I was looking at getting back into music and how that was going to work out. And while it was still kind of a tight schedule, I kind of worked it out and, approached Kevin Carl again. And I was like, hey, I'm looking to play music again, try to get back into something. And it was actually around the same time, he was looking to make changes, and Eric was getting into the band. And it was a really great time for me to join in for that second practice. And that's how I got into No More Death Stars.
Right.
Yeah.
And we kind of already touched on this, Gina, but it was because you two were playing, you and Kevin KC was playing together in Asa and the Mass. Asa Morris just joined us, by the way. Hi, Asa.
Shout out to Asa.
Hi.
Hey, dude.
We've been talking about
love
you.
Love you, Asa. We're talking about you.
I love you, Asa.
The dude is watching. Anyway, so that's how you kind of got into this. Also, aren't you two a couple? No? No? Okay. I thought that was a thing. Sorry.
It's okay.
So I don't know who told me.
Oh, we're
that.
like Fleetwood
I'm gonna
Mac
have to. I'm gonna have to slap. I'm gonna have to slap whoever told me that. It was this week too.
I mean, we were.
Yeah, you were.
for-
I remember seeing you guys out together. But
It did happen for
Right.
a long time, but yeah.
it's not a thing. I wonder what that's like. I've always wondered why that's like because I never worked with anybody that I was involved with. I wonder how that comes to. I don't know.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Asa says hi, my loves.
Hey.
Hello.
It's nice to see you out and about, Asa. Not really. He's not really out and about. He just kind of floats in and floats out. So
Yeah, I mean, sorry, go ahead. I didn't know if you wanted me to touch on your
just go ahead.
question before.
Yeah, do that.
Of like working with someone that you're in a relationship with.
Yeah. I've never had that myself, but I know that people that have.
Should I leave for this?
No, why would you do that?
Just kick him
Why
out
would
a
you do
little
that?
bit.
No. Let's hear what Gina has to say, and then you can tell me what you think.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that Kevin and I work really well together. I mean, we were playing music together before we were a couple, so
Right.
So I don't think I don't know. I mean, I don't know that it changes how we work together. I think that we just have the same sort of so we have similar musical influences and we have similar taste in the stuff that we are writing together. And I think, I don't know. I don't think that changes with the coming and going of a relationship. And obviously we're still,
Well, you're playing in the same
friends.
band together and you're still friends
Yeah.
getting along. That's what dating is about. When you date, instead of getting into a relationship that's exclusive, when you date and then you have your exclusive relationship and you decide this isn't really what we need right now and you move on, that's what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to be like a stalker afterwards and chase the guy around
Yeah,
or
they're
whatever.
Wait.
adults.
You're
Yeah.
not?
I learned
Most
that through
people
trial and
aren't.
error, though.
Most people aren't. They become stalkers.
I learned that through trial and error.
Yeah.
You should check out my other band, Sobgoblin.
Okay.
Cringy,
So-
really cringy.
I've been stalking you for weeks. I mean, I thought that's
like currently.
Well, there's one thing about stalking them, join the band, and then there's another thing stalking them because you want to be in a relationship. There's a lot of people out there that just stalk. It's part of their personality. They just live it.
Gina used me for career elevation.
Oh, there you go. She
With all of
used
my
you.
industry connections.
Yeah.
I don't have
She used you.
time to stalk anybody. That's really
And also, I have no industry connections. If anyone is
I'm
connected
too
to the
lazy to
industry,
stalk.
they see me and they're like, "Wait, isn't that asshole who gives his music away for free?" And then they never
I need
talk
to say this. I'm not saying that anybody here is a stalker, and I'm not saying any of my stalkers are stalkers. I'm just letting you know. It's a hypothetical thing. Before I get somebody getting on there giving me
I lack
shit.
ambition to stalk.
Yeah,
That's who I want stalking me right there.
Ellie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's that way.
Hi.
That's our band manager.
Hey.
Welcome.
She can't hear you. She's probably really confused.
Oh, that's right. Well, we're all
Oh,
waving
yeah.
to you, honey.
Yeah.
Okay, Kevin.
Yes.
What does this band personally do for you as far as your life, your creativity? Explain what this is compared to the other bands.
Well, I mean, like I was saying before, I mean, a big, I guess, kind of antecedent to this band was just, I guess wanting to streamline my creative output and not feel like I have to start fresh every time my life changes or other people's life changes. But more than that, I mean, it was I do think this band means more to me than any other name that I've used to release my music under because, I mean, when I started No More Death Stars, I guess like for one thing, I was going through a lot of personal changes, you know, like I was saying earlier, like I just kind of decided I didn't want to do this sad, mopey, like woe is me, like straight white indie rock thing that I think like a lot of bands fall into that trap. I didn't want to do that. And also I was just trying to like figure out personal stuff, like, you know, personal issues I've been dealing with for years, decades even. And No More Death Stars actually start off as kind of like a mantra rather than a band name. People always think it's just like a Star Wars joke. I never really thought of that. You know, like I was kind of the Death Star and I just didn't want to be that way anymore. So I would say to myself, like, this is so dorky, but yeah, I mean, I would say to myself, like, no more Death Stars this year. Because I was like, you know, like, yeah, this year will be better. And I also, I guess, wanted to kind of, again, detach from like band culture. You know, I decided that I'm just going to, you know, put all of our music on the internet for free. If I do make money, like, you know, I'll just donate that to a relevant charity for whatever's going on in the world right now. Like, I think like the first thing we released, you know, some weird stuff happened in November of 2016. I won't get into it. But that was kind of like a big, yeah, that informed a lot of things. And like, obviously now with the pandemic and everything that's going on with the police, you know, we've got more things to kind of like donate our money to. We will take your money now, because, you know, like there's other people than me in the band now. And like, we do things like try and go on tour and like make merch. So like, we do have costs.
I need gold too.
Yeah, so I try and be aware of that, but I also try and make sure that there are options for getting our stuff for free because, you know, I think like economic discrimination is one of the biggest forms of discrimination that people don't talk about.
Yep.
And so like, hopefully we're addressing that with, you know, either giving people stuff that they can have for free or like, if there is stuff that we do need to sell, try and be reasonable with the price tag. I'm kind of going on a weird tangent here. But I guess to me,
but it's a good thing to touch on because I do the same thing. I don't, you know, the bands that can afford me, yeah, okay, I'll take your money. But the bands that can't afford me because they're either new or, you know, economically, you know, impoverished at that time, they'll owe me a favor later on in life or something if they get successful. Let them pay me back in another way or pay it forward to somebody else.
Right.
I do that all the time.
Yeah, like
I've been doing that for 8 years. I don't make any money. Awesome. I don't make any money at this thing. Trust me.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, I think people need to remember to do things because they're fun. I think like the internet is a great tool, but I think it created, like it dismantled the music industry, but then it replaced it with this weird infrastructure that is kind of run by like likes and follows and whatever. And yeah, I think a lot of people are starting to forget that. Like, this is just fun. It's supposed to be fun. I mean, it's serious too, but it's fun. It's the main reason.
I started in 1980. Don't try to date me, but 1980. And the music industry, I worked for ASCAP. I reported for the local market to the record companies about dance club plays and things like that, and it worked completely different than it does now. Back then there was oodles of money to go around. There were 8 scouts and agents rolling in it, coming to your market and saying, okay, what's the best band to go and listen to, what's the best club to go see where our product is working. And they don't do that. That isn't the way it works anymore. And back then it was kind of a luck of the draw. If you were in the right place at the right time, you got a record contract and hey, you had money. Sure. Not like that anymore. Everybody and their brother is out there trying to make 8 cents off of CD Baby for each play,
which is great and terrible all at the same time. But I mean, like, that's life. It's beautiful. Right? It's awful.
It is. But it's a completely different. You're absolutely right. It's a completely different animal.
But I'm looking at the question at the bottom of the screen now, and I feel like maybe I didn't give the best answer I can, which is what does the band currently do for me personally? And I know does nothing.
I'm not gonna do anything.
Nice,
Yeah.
motherfucker. No, I know it's like a cliche thing to say, but like I don't know. I think this band is kind of like a family. I mean, like these guys are my 3 best friends. You know,
Right.
I don't say that lightly, and like I think we can all attest to this. Like whenever one of us has a crisis, like we're there for each other. I mean, we've all like the 4 of us. Like this version of the band has only existed for like about a year and a half now, but like it's been a fucked up year and a half. I not just for us, but I think for the whole world.
everybody. Yeah.
But like I know all 3 of us have had like some pretty bad times in the past. Some great times too. But like, you know, we've all had some pretty bad times, and like I don't know. Like I think my favorite thing about the band is that we're all there for each other, and that like, you know, we're not too cool to cancel band practice because maybe we should just go like
have a beer.
hang out. Yeah, have a beer, see a movie, talk.
Except, you know, somebody has to have iced tea instead of a beer.
Yeah.
Eric,
okay.
smile. Smile. Don't be the Secret Service agent for me. Okay, thank you.
Secret servant.
I support your iced tea consumption.
I support it too, but you know, it's nice to have a beer once in a while.
Only iced tea with smiles, though. I think that's the point, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So, what does the band personally do for you, Kevin Stevenson?
I think, you know, the way that Kevin summed it up towards the end with like we're a group of friends, we have so much in common with each other, so it's great to be able to play and make music, but it's great to be able to do that with people that you're friends with, and that you can, you know, you look at your phone, you know, when you wake up in the morning, because I've got Ellie, you know, getting up at 6:30, and I see that they've had this million-mile conversation in our text group about something completely random, and you know, it's great to be able to have that instead of being all business and all kind of like weird. We just get along so well together. And you know, the other thing is just, you know, the musical outlet. I think working off of each other, we do that so well. And for me, you know, I can write songs, but it's really great when Cardinal comes to us with this full, you know, kind of fledged idea, and we add our stuff to it and add our parts to it, and he's so open to it, and you know, everyone's just so collaborative, and it works out so well. So yeah, just the artistic outlet of being able to play guitar in this, you know, pedal friendly band that we have.
And,
I
love that.
Yeah, and it, you know, just
Kevin's pedal board is the heaviest piece of gear we have.
I was gonna say, who has the biggest pedal board?
Definitely Kevin.
I'm getting rid of it though.
No.
I'm going digital.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Kevin's like a mad scientist.
Yeah,
There's a lot of you guys out there. There's a lot of you guys out there. I see the pedal boards when I'm setting up my cameras around the stage, and I see some big ones. I see a lot of money. A lot of money on that floor.
Yeah,
and I'm going,
my analog pedal board is about 60 pounds.
I think it's safe to say that the 3 of us, Kevin, myself, and Eric, like we've probably individually have spent more money on our pedal setups than our actual like guitars and amps.
That's not hard to do with the price of pedals.
Yeah.
But
the problem
you're
is
seriously.
feed off each other.
Yeah.
Is what?
He gets a pedal, so you got to have a new pedal, and Stevenson's got to have a new pedal.
Exactly what happens.
I mean, I kind of lay back just because of like what the job of a bass is in a band. So like I do have pedals, but I keep it pretty simple. You know,
what does Gina get? What does Gina get to do if you guys all get pedals?
We're working on that.
We've talked about this. No. We've talked about this. We have actually about like giving her like some kind of weird electronic gizmo to play with when we go into noise mode. Because when we play live, like we'll tend to blast through like 4 or 5 songs without stopping.
Right.
So and like a lot of the time, what that means is kind of like tying them together with just like noise and feedback. And we're usually on our knees, like playing with our pedals and twisting knobs and doing mad scientist shit.
Yep.
And then Gina sits there and like drinks water and just kind of like waits for us to like get over it.
Yeah, she's got to have something.
Yeah, it's only fair that I get to have some knobs.
I'm all for it. I think everyone should have knobs.
Everybody has to have knobs.
Mm-hmm.
Eric, what is this band doing for you personally?
Not a whole lot. No. I love these guys. These guys, I'm gonna repeat exactly what these guys said before me, and we're just a really good group of friends. Even if this band died tomorrow, we would all still stay in contact with each other. We have become very, very close over the last year and a half, and these guys were there for me when my very good friend and former bandmate Joel Polino passed away. R.I.P. I just want to give a shout out to him.
I was going to do that at
they
the
were
end of
there
the
for me.
show.
They
Go
were
ahead.
there for me, and I'll always remember that. But musically, I love this band because it allows me to scratch an itch that I've never been able to scratch in any of my own groups, and that's the ability to really stretch out sonically on the guitar and just go into really weird, like trippy places that, when you're tethered to a microphone, it's limiting. So being in this band, I can jump around and I can really get crazy and wild. And Kevin Stevenson and myself, we've come up with a pretty insane, blasting people's faces off, tripped out sound that I don't think any other band in this area is doing, honestly.
You'll see at the end of the show. You'll see at the end of the show. I'm dedicating this show to Joel. Actually, he was an awesome guy, and we all miss him greatly.
I miss him terribly.
I know you do, and all of us who ever got to know him, we miss him. He was a super dude. Gina.
Yes.
Personally.
Well, I'm going to agree with what everyone has said so far. I do feel like I've become really close with everybody since we've been playing together, and it's a really nice support system to have.
Mm-hmm.
And then in terms of the music, I've become a better drummer playing in this band because, like we were saying, we all work so well together. And if someone throws an idea at me, like, hey, can you try this? Can you try it this way? And if I can't do it at first, it gives me a reason to practice something new. Some of the songs can be really fast paced. So I feel like I've become faster, and it's just playing drums is a really great release. You just get to slam on shit.
I would think that, I've never done it. I think that would be something I'd love to do when I get frustrated. I would love to just go slam some drums around.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't keep time or makes any sense. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to do that.
It's great. It really is. But yeah, I feel like it's made me a better musician playing with these guys. Everyone's so talented.
Definitely.
And it's a good workout.
Yes.
Yeah.
I bet you got nice muscles up there.
I've got some little
muscles. There you go.
It's the only person in this band who's
I think she's the strongest person in the band.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
both,
a total
both physically and emotionally.
It's a total workout, drums. Especially if you got a bigger kit. The bigger the kit. Look at Neil Peart. You couldn't see the guy behind his kit, but he was moving like crazy.
I'll be there one day. I'm just gonna
with 11 toms all around you. Yeah. And all the chimes and all the toms all the way around him. Yeah. And he had the electric set over to that side, or no, it was that side.
That's cool when people are setting your shit up for you, but when you have to carry all your gear around, it's like, how can I pare this down?
You have to get airlifted into your set.
I think he had, I can't tell how many drum techs he had, but I saw that Rush a couple times live, and that kit was unbelievable. It was like the size of my house.
Yeah.
It was like living inside his own little house. Yeah. But you don't see those very often.
Setting it up for you.
Yeah. Lots of, and I can't even count the drum techs that he had. And then I saw Metallica, and Lars, the same thing, but he didn't have the big drum set when I saw him. He had a tiny little one, but he still had drum techs everywhere.
Right.
I don't know what that was about.
If I even see a kit with a bar, connecting all the time, I'm like, God, that's got to be such a pain in the ass. I never want to have.
And when you're loading your own stuff in and out, and setting up your own kit, you want to be, in and out.
Right.
I want
and
to
a
be
lot
able.
of
To, I
times
want to be able to. Oh no, go ahead.
I was going to say you don't have a lot of time in between to turn over. So like,
Right.
you know, for us at least, like we're not always doing like a sound check before the start of a show. We're just like getting, just jumping on when our
Yep.
when
Set
it's our
up
time.
and-
So yeah, so
Set up, play,
Yeah.
tear it down and go.
yeah.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of those over the years. A lot of bands doing that, especially when you got 3 or 4 people on a bill or more, and you only got 3 hours to play in, do your thing, out, and you've got to take all that stuff down.
Mhm.
I mean, you've got to be in really good physical shape to be a musician these days. Local musician.
Yeah.
Until you get rich and famous, and then you can have a drum tech or, 25,000 roadies.
I think
Yeah.
I would still set like maybe I can't say because I've never experienced this, but I feel like I would still set my stuff up and I would still want to do that. I don't know. It'd be weird to like not touch my kit and then just like sit down on it and start playing.
If your tech can't do it, you gotta fire him and get a new one.
There you go. You got to be really careful who you pick for your tech, too.
Yeah.
Because, it could be, not having your best interests at heart. And then on the other side, they could be attached at your hip and stalker.
Like sabotaging your kit.
Yeah. Oh, they could do that. They could do that, too. You piss them off and then they sabotage your kit or put your guitar out of tune or whatever.
I heard a story with Stevie Ray Vaughan. I don't know if you guys have ever heard the rule of sixes with Fender amps. They say that Fender amps like supposedly have the best tone ever if you set everything to 6. And so Stevie Ray Vaughan, he played like super reverbs and he was like, no, everything needs to be on 6. But like every room has different acoustics. Your amp is going to sound different in every room. So I heard his tech would actually every night set the amp to where it sounded best for the venue, and then take a screwdriver and take the knobs off, and then put them back on so it looked like they were all
Like
on
it was
6.
6.
So he had so he had no idea. Yeah.
Yep. That's awesome. Okay. So, we got to talk about the big elephant in the room, which is the COVID-19 shutdown and what it's done. How's it affected
Never heard of
you guys in the band? And of course you haven't.
Wait, are you talking about that liberal hoax disease?
Yeah, that little liberal hoax disease that's going on out there. Phase 4, we're about to go to phase 3, and phase 4 will probably be like July, I think they said, if things go well. Right. So up till now, this 3.5 months we've been doing this thing.
Jesus Christ. Sure.
Without work, the day they locked New York down, I had the most lucrative job of my past 8 years set up the following night, and I lost it. I was so upset. I was so upset. I mean, I was so upset because I worked really hard for that one. Anyway, how did it affect you guys?
Can I just tell a really quick story?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was joking about this at our last practice. I think this must have been the first weekend in March. We had our practice before everybody quarantined. We literally did not practice for 3 months. But the last practice we had before we all went into quarantine, Gina asked everybody at the practice, "Are you guys worried about this coronavirus thing?" And I went, "Nah, fuck that. Whatever."
We were all like, but what's really ironic too is we had like this whole like bit, like we went off on this tangent, like just like riffing with each other about the Corona cops, like the Corona cops are gonna come and here we are like 3 months later, and like Corona sucks, the cops suck, like everything sucks.
I heard today that the cops, there was a private party on private property, 50 people and a band, and the cops showed up and broke it up. Yeah, that's a horrible thing to have somebody come onto your property and say you can't have your friends over to play. I mean, they came.
I don't know how I feel about that.
I mean, they should wait. They should wait for phase 4, but some people aren't because.
Ironic though, because like we were at the Black Lives Matter march like last week or the weekend before that, and none of the cops were wearing masks. None of them.
No,
Actually, our friend went over to them and offered if like they want, like we had extra masks, and she asked if they needed some masks, and they were like, "Nah, our dicks are too big for that,"
Nah.
Yeah, it was really offensive.
They might know something we don't know. Who knows? It could be, it's a hoax. If you don't know anybody who passed on from it, I personally knew a couple.
Sorry.
It's a real disease, and I'm
Very
so
real.
sick of people who saying that it's not a real disease.
For sure.
But all right, Eric, you were telling this story. How else does it affect the band? Have you lost a lot of gigs? Did you have a lot of bookings set up?
Yeah, I mean,
are you not recording? What are you doing with yourselves during the 3.5 months? As a band?
I mean, we just
Crying.
recently, crying, sending each other memes.
Lots of sobbing.
Yeah. I mean, we just got back to practicing maybe 2 weeks ago, and it's great. But yeah, I mean, it fucked us up. We had to cancel some shows, a lot of shows that we were pretty psyched about.
Especially that Albany one.
Yeah, that was gonna be rad. But and we have a record written, demoed, in the bag, and we had the studio time booked to go in and actually lay it down to tape, and it's still gonna happen. We just don't know when.
Right.
But yes, I mean, we kind of had to postpone our whole album, recording, release, everything. Who
are you recording with?
Ryan Cohen. He, our buddy Ryan in Vermont, he runs a studio called Robot Dog Studio. I think if anyone's looking for engineer, look him up. He's great. He recorded.
Amazing.
Yeah, he recorded our last, we put a single out last October, a single and a B-side, and he recorded that for us. And he's got a really nice space. There's an actual dog there that you can touch and talk to. And Ryan is very laid back, as I think any good engineer should be.
You got me with the dog. I'll come hang out with the dog.
No, it's great. I can't say enough nice things about Ryan. He's just a really great guy. He's super talented. And he, I think, understands our sensibilities and seems genuinely psyched on our music, which is, always nice.
Yeah, that helps. It helps that the engineer is into what you're doing.
Yeah. I remember
too,
when we went to record with him last time, we were trying to get levels in our headphones, and he's like, all right, I'm just going to play a record through your headphones and you can tell me if it's good. And he put on, Pinkerton, the second Weezer EP, that's kind of, or not EP, but album, that's kind of become a bit of legend in the indie rock and punk rock world, and that's one of my favorite albums of all time. I think that is the best sonically, the best, that's just how a rock band is supposed to sound. So I was pretty stoked that he put that on, and he gets where we're coming from.
Yeah, and a further shout out is his YouTube channel too is awesome. So
his YouTube channel. I'll have to look that up.
He's got a YouTube channel. He does shootouts and versus
with guns.
Yeah. He does shootouts all the time. Brutal.
What was his last name again?
Cohen. Yeah, and his studio is Robot Dog Studio.
Yeah, I got that. I'm gonna look at it. Look him up. That's interesting. A lot of people say that the COVID-19 has made them, all this downtime depressed. Have you guys felt depressed too, or are you using the time to go out with your kids? Or you don't all have kids. Kevin has kids. The rest of us,
I've been taking Kevin's kids out.
Yeah.
Are you?
Okay.
Straight up. I'll load them in the tour van and we go.
Yeah.
Some of the musicians that I've talked to have just totally broken from doing anything, and they've gone hiking, they've gone sailing, they do anything other than music during this downtime.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering, is it the same for you guys, or is it really depressing that you can't play your instruments out in front of an audience?
There's definitely a lot of depression. I think I'm more so just depressed and I'm sad for the world and what's happening. I think I'm very, lucky as a musician because I can play all the instruments, and when I write songs or get ideas for songs, I'm also very fortunate in that my like when I write a song, I tend to hear all of the instruments. So like I'm just fortunate, I guess, that I have that kind of an ear, and also like I know how to engineer my own recordings. So I've been able to release stuff from home the last couple months that sounds like decent enough. But yeah, I mean, it's also, it's nice that I am fortunate enough to do that, but it's not a true replacement for like getting together with your friends and actually playing and making loud noises together and like and creating something as a group. Because like like when I'm writing, like I'll hear all the parts, but I'm more excited to hear like what these guys are gonna do.
Do you guys feed off your audience, or does it not matter if there's an audience? Do you get anything back from your audience? Do you think?
Totally. Yeah.
Because some people don't. They could stand in front of in some places
we've played empty rooms, and it's still totally fun. We had one show at Polly's Hotel where it was just like us playing to the other bands. Yeah. And like I think it was some of our show.
It was really fun.
It was a good show, but also like the 5 people that were there that didn't play, like all told me how much they loved my stage banter, because I just kind of ran with the idea that no one was there and I was acting like it was a huge crowd. And and I talked a lot about American recording artists and heartthrobs, Creed.
Creed.
I had some good comedy bits on Creed. But I mean, I guess you're still feeding off energy at that point. But like, I think we could play to 2 people and still have a fun time, just because we enjoy each other's company and we like playing together. But yeah, it's always nice when
in this market. I have sat in a lot of rooms where the band is playing to 5 people or less. It's sad. Sure. It's really sad. But, some of them still feed off the 5 people that are in the room, like you said, or some of them are playing to themselves. And I was just wondering how you felt about,
I think a crowd.
Do you need to feed off the band or off the crowd?
I mean, you always are, but that energy can be there even with a small, like I think a crowd of 5 people that are, that's really stoked on what you're doing,
right,
is better than a crowd of 100 people that don't give a shit.
Right.
Also, right. Yeah. Yep, that's true. So, what's the future for this band? Do you think?
Breaking up.
All of you. Oh, you're gonna break up?
Yeah, we're breaking up. We're done.
Do they announce the breakup date, or we're gonna keep it a secret?
We'll probably come out of this soon. I mean, we're breaking up, but the real end game here is a reunion tour, so we can make that reunion money. I'm trying to make that like Stephen money. Whatever. Yeah.
I have my own personal opinion about reunion tours, especially for people who've been in the business 50 years, and it's always their last tour.
Like those bands that have a reunion tour every summer.
Every summer, yeah. That just I'm not buying that stuff anymore.
Yeah.
Motley Crue, like
Kiss,
farewell tour.
Kiss, Rolling Stones.
Kiss,
it's all about money.
Yeah,
and that's the sad part about the big guys now. It's all about making
oodles
and oodles of money.
Unpopular opinion, like I think the Rolling Stones either need to like do something new or just stop, because like I don't know, like it's kind of depressing, right? Like you show up and like Mick Jagger has his shirt off and he's like fucking 75 and like they're literally doing the same show they were doing 50 years ago. But I think if they wrote new songs and put shirts on and acted their age, like that would be rad. I would love to see that. Like I'm generally curious to see like what the real Rolling Stones is today, because like we're not really getting a genuine.
No, you're getting the 1960s, 70s version.
I heard a new Rolling Stones song the other day. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, I guess I'm wrong then. I don't know.
Well, they probably perform it in the style of the 60s, 70s Stones.
Yeah. But I mean, like, I don't know, like there's a way to adapt and stay relevant. Like, look at Bob Dylan. Like, I mean, say what you will, people either love or hate what he's doing now, but he's doing something that's like, it's him. It's really like, it's what he should be doing right now, or I don't know.
I saw him live 3 times, and all 3 times he was either drunk or high, and he could not sing, and he did not remember his own lyrics.
That's okay.
I will never give him another dime.
All right, maybe that's a bad example.
That's
but, like,
that's that guy. As legendary as he is, I never was able to catch him live where he actually knew what he was doing. That was
Like,
sad for
but
me.
he does what he really
I'm
wants
like
to be
that when
doing.
I'm sober.
Yeah.
Really?
I don't
Well,
remember
maybe he was sober, but he could not remember. He was just standing there looking
Yeah.
into oblivion, and everybody was like, "Sing!" And
Yeah,
he
I mean,
had to be
Bob
he had to
Dylan's
be
let it-
prompted. He had to be prompted.
He
And
doesn't do what's going to make the fans happy, but I guess maybe that's why I admire him.
Oh, okay. So you want to be an anarchist? You want to be an
He
anarchist,
wants to. He does what he wants to do, and not what like you want him to do.
right?
But that
Okay.
said, like maybe like I don't know, like I don't think it's cool to get so drunk that you can't like entertain people because
Right,
like,
because they're
you know.
paying big money at the price of
Yeah.
concert tickets right now. They're paying big money to see you do something relevant or
yeah,
that you can understand. And when you can understand the whole show, you're like, what song was that?
yeah, and like
What-
I don't think you should cater to people's expectations, but like at the end of the day, like I wouldn't be here without an audience,
Oh,
so,
there's the kitty. How many you got now?
12.
Just two.
Just the two?
This kitty is 18 years old. 18
That's
years
awesome.
old,
Right.
this kid is.
That's really impressive.
Yeah, that's awesome.
My grandmother had a cat that lived to be 28. Oh my God.
Damn.
What?
Wow.
That's
She
insane.
carried it around as a baby its last 8 years of life, probably. I was like, it's cruel to keep it going. Why don't you just let it down, let it do its thing. Future, Eric, what do you think? Kevin,
No
Gina.
more Death Stars.
Yeah.
We're
Jetpacks.
definitely recording a
Jetpacks.
recording an album.
Do you know that band? We were promised Jetpacks, the name of a band.
Yeah. I do know that band.
Yeah. I love that. Then they're cool too.
Yeah.
I got to meet them at a festival once.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. So what do you think, Eric?
Definitely, this band will be recording a full-length album
Yes.
in the next few months.
Are you going to be at Googs this coming season?
Most likely.
Oh, yeah.
Assuming that there is a Goog season this year.
Yes. Assuming that they get to reopen and Googs is there.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, we've actually gone over a little bit, but that doesn't matter. First of all, I want to dedicate this episode to our friend Joel Polino. Rest in peace. He is very missed. And thank you all for being here.
Thanks for having us.
The name of the band is No More Death Stars.
Thank you.
Please read
Thank you
down
for having us.
below. As soon as I said, somebody said to me, why don't you do Meet the Band episodes? Oh, yeah, I want to get No More Death Stars. That's the first thing I said.
Oh, really? Thank you.
It was, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you here.
And Pony and the Pancake is my second
Oh, they're
choice.
so great.
Yeah, we love those
Super-
guys.
super nice
I
guys,
love
dude.
those guys, and I have never
just
been
like the
able to
nicest
get.
guys.
I've never been able to get together with them, and I want to do a show with them.
Yeah.
So
Great songwriters.
Yeah.
yes, and I don't know. They blew me away when I first saw them.
Yeah,
and,
they're really good.
Super good.
Yeah, super good. And the Facebook page, No More Death Stars band. No, is it just No More Death
Just No More
Stars?
Death Stars. Yeah.
Yeah, and do you have a YouTube channel or a band camp or something?
There's a YouTube channel, but it's like you have to have, I think, something like 500 followers before you can have a custom link. So just search No More Death Stars on YouTube, and some stuff will probably come up. And yeah, our band camp is nomoredeathstars.bandcamp.com. There's a bunch of stuff there. Yeah.
You got a shop selling any merch?
Yeah, there's a shop on the Bandcamp page. There's
Cool.
some CDs, some T-shirts, some bumper stickers, and some other.
So if
odds
anybody
ends.
wants to check them out, go check out the Bandcamp. And
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing you guys at Googs in the new season.
Yeah,
Thanks
Hopefully
for being
we can play
here.
there.
Yeah, hopefully. Who knows what COVID-19 is going to do to us? But if it's possible, I'll see you guys all out there on the tour. And thanks for hanging out tonight. And
for having
Thanks
us.
for having
Thank you.
us.
Thanks for
we hope to have you back.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And keep the positive thoughts, and hopefully we'll get out of this soon and we'll all be back to work.
Yeah.
Bye. Thanks everybody for being here tonight. Like they said, check out their Bandcamp. Next week I've got the support services of the 518, which is got photographers, videographers, lighting people, and soundmen. Where they're going to be here talking about their role in the music scene, our local music scene. And thanks for being here. And as always, I appreciate it. And everybody be safe and healthy. Bye.